Is faster DDR5 RAM worth it for gaming? That is a question I think a lot of people in this community may have on their minds, given the dramatic drop in DRAM pricing, along with kits rated at higher speeds being more commonly available. If you're someone who's looking at unleashing the maximum potential of your CPU for gaming, then it might be worth considering. I've got some gaming benchmarks with different configurations to show you guys, so let's check them out in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on guys? Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. This is a video I had been putting off for quite a while, but at the same time I was also very eager to make. What I'll be showing you guys are some gaming benchmarks which I conducted on my test bench using 4 different RAM configurations, along with my Core i7-13700K and an RTX 4090 to find out if using faster DDR5 RAM is worth it for gaming. Now I'll leave timestamps in the video description below for those that want to skip the preamble and just want to jump straight into the benchmarks, I understand. But if you're getting into exploring this area of PC hardware and more specifically RAM tuning, it might be worth listening to the experience I had while I was working on getting the results for this video and why I said I was kind of dreading on making it. If you've been a follower of my channel for a while now, you might have seen the video I made earlier this year where I showed some benchmarks of my Patriot M-Die kit running at 6000 megatransfers XMP versus it tuned to 6800 megatransfers with tighter timings. And I found that in many titles, while average FPS didn't improve by a drastic margin, if at all, in most titles, the 1% lows did benefit considerably, allowing for smoother gameplay overall. So I definitely recommend it if you've got some time on a weekend. It might be worth looking into seeing how much further you can push your memory beyond its XMP profile. This then prompted me into finally looking into getting a higher frequency A-Die kit. However, memory kits using A-Die at the time were just too expensive here in Canada, going for well over $400 in some cases. Fast forward a few months to the beginning of summer, and I had noticed that the pricing on DDR5 kits had fallen dramatically, and availability had also improved as many different brands had kits rated for speeds beyond 7000 megatransfers. Since I already had a pretty good experience with Patriot, I decided, hey, I'll stick with them, and I got this 2x16 kit rated at 7400 megatransfers, CL36, and oh man, was that the wrong call to make. Now, when it comes to high frequency DDR5, especially when dealing with 7000 megatransfers and beyond, things can get pretty wild pretty fast. For starters, running at speeds beyond 6000 if you're on AMD probably won't even work. And before someone points out the latest Agiza that allows you to run at like 8000 megatransfers, I'm well aware of that, but do keep in mind you have to run at Gear 4, which essentially diminishes the performance benefits of the higher bandwidth. On Intel, you can do speeds of around 8200 or even higher on Gear 2, but in order to achieve or attain that, good luck. First of all, you'll need to strike gold with your CPU's IMC. You can skip the silicon lottery part for the sticks because now you can buy kits rated at 8000 megatransfers and just overclock it, but the motherboard also plays a huge role. As of now, if you want to comfortably run 7800 or higher, you'll need a 2-DIMM motherboard for it because they offer much better stability when it comes to memory overclocking. But sheesh, these motherboards cost a fortune. Now, circling back to the Patriot kit I was talking about, I wasn't planning on overclocking this kit to 8000 because the board I'm using is the MSI Z790 Carbon Wi-Fi, which has 4 memory DIMM slots. But even at its XMP profile, this kit wasn't stable, and I already knew going into this that I'd have to play around with voltages because once you get past 6800 megatransfers on Intel, you can't really trust the XMP profile's voltages to give you stability right from the start. It might work, but be prepared to do some guess and check. But the reason why this kit is so bizarre is because even after playing around with so many different voltage combinations, I couldn't get it stable. I had even dropped it down to 7000 megatransfers with looser timings, and the result was the same. I had even dropped it down to 6800 with obscenely loose timings, worse than my M-Die kit, and it would still error out. Then I thought, okay, perhaps the sticks themselves are defective, so I got them exchanged, and nothing happened. It's still the same result. I started to think that perhaps I got a really garbage IMC or this board just doesn't play nicely with A-Die kits, but just to be sure I decided to go with a different kit altogether, and that was this T-Create kit from Team Group, which was rated to run at 7200 megatransfers, so slower bandwidth, albeit it had tighter timings out of the box. This kit straight out of the box worked with its XMP profile and was rock solid stable in my testing, so for some reason Patriot's A-Die kit didn't want to play nicely with my Z790 Carbon Wi-Fi Wi-Fi, and I wish I had figured this out sooner because I'd spent so much time trying to do a bunch of trial and error to get that kit to work. After that, I decided to take a crack at overclocking the kit, and that experience wasn't really all that much different from when I overclocked my MDI kit. Perhaps just a bit more restricting because, like I said, when you're beyond like 7,000 megatransfers, even on Intel, it gets quite difficult. So yeah, overclocking DDR5 with the hardware that's available right now is quite an adventure. Be prepared for a time sink. But was all this hassle even worth it? Well, I guess it's time to move on to the gaming benchmarks to find out the answer to that question. For our system, we're running a 13700K, which has all its P cores overclocked to 5.5 GHz, E cores are running at 4.5 GHz, and the ring is overclocked to 5 GHz. My RTX 4090 is overclocked as well, where it sits comfortably at 3 GHz, and has its memory running at 24 gigabits per second. I'm going to leave the rest of the specs in the video description. Now for the benchmarks, we're going to be taking a look at 4 different configurations. My Patriot MDI kit running at 6,000 megatransfers with its XMP CL36 profile. Then with it overclocked to 6,800 megatransfers with tuned timings. And I've done the same with my Team Group kit, so XMP at 7,200 and then overclocked to 7,600 with tuned timings. If you guys by any chance are interested in any of these kits, I'll have some affiliate links down below in the description. All the games were tested at 1080p with high or ultra settings, with post-processing stuff like motion blur and depth of field turned off. Alright, so starting us off is The Last of Us Part 1. This game shows us decent scaling. Tuning the MDI kit to 6,800 with better timings gave us a pretty good jump in 1% lows, and it offers slightly better performance than the 7,200 XMP config. But our best config was running at 7,600 megatransfers with tuned timings, so you get the best of both worlds there, high bandwidth and better latency, resulting in the best performance. In Hogwarts Legacy, we once again see the same sort of results. Our tuned 6,800 config offers really good performance, even better than our XMP 7,200 results, especially when it comes to the 1% lows. This game seems to be pretty latency sensitive, so if you get a lot of stutters, try tightening up those timings, and hopefully that alleviates things for you. Resident Evil 4 Remake is next, and this game shows us behavior that is the opposite of what we saw before. While average FPS is pretty close between all configs, the 1% lows are better on the high bandwidth configs. A Plague Tale Requiem shows us that our CPU was held back quite a bit with the 6000 XMP setup, where the tuned 6800, 7200 XMP, and 7600 tuned configs provided basically the same performance. Up next is Spider-Man Remastered, and this is a game that shows us pretty decent scaling from the configs where we overclock them and tighten the timings, but our 7200 XMP profile kit also provided us with some decent results. In Returnal, the performance differences aren't really that big. Even if you were just using the 6000 XMP config, you're not missing out on much, which in my books is a good thing. I'd much rather have a game that is more so GPU bound, rather than the user being held back because the RAM isn't fast enough. Horizon Zero Dawn is a game that shows us pretty good performance scaling across the different configurations, and it seems like this game does seem to favor more bandwidth, as evident with the 7200 and 7600 speeds. The next game is Total War Warhammer 3, and either this game had received an update which provided further optimization, or it could be because I'm using a later BIOS which provided better timings for the XMP profiles, because before there was a massive improvement in 1% lows when going from XMP to tuned, but now that's not the case, and performance is relatively close between the different configurations, which is great. Forza Horizon 5 is also another game which shows us similar behavior. This game really doesn't care too much for faster RAM, so let's move on. Now with Gears 5, we see really good scaling again. When we overclock the MDI kit from 6,000 to 6,800 megatransfers and tighten the timings, performance improves by as much as 8% for the average FPS and 6% for the 1% lows, and it more or less ties the 7,200 XMP result. With the Team Group kit at 7,600 with tuned timings, the average goes up by another 12 FPS, but 1% lows barely improve. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that demonstrates how even if you're running slower memory, if you can just tighten the timings, you'll be able to get performance that'll be just as good, if not better, than kits rated to run at higher speeds because they have looser timings and, well, higher latency. This is also evident in Hitman 3, as this game clearly shows it likes low latency memory, as the 6800 tuned config provides even better performance than the 7200 XMP config of the Team Group memory, and it's basically a wash between the overclocked 7600 tuned config, which, I'll be honest, was much harder to attain. Red Dead Redemption 2 shows us a similar outcome as well. The 6800 tuned and 7200 XMP configs are basically neck and neck, with the 7600 OC'd result coming in with just 9 FPS higher on the average, but considerably better 1% lows. Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition is next, and this is another one of those GPU-bound titles as it utilizes ray tracing, and here we can see performance between all configurations is relatively close. Sure, there was a bit of scaling, but it's nothing crazy. Halo Infinite is next, and it's a game which really couldn't care less about faster RAM, so let's move on. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 2022, on the other hand, is a shooter that does show it favoring faster RAM. We can see pretty good scaling here, and it seems to show it benefits from both higher bandwidth and tighter timings for lower latency. We can see that the 6800 tuned and 7200 XMP results are neck and neck, while our best results come from the overclocked 7600 tune config. The Witcher 3 is next, and this is a title that shows the faster RAM you can give it, along with the lower latency, the better. The results from our 7600 tune config show us that while average FPS was better than the 6800 tune config, it's the 1% lows which are considerably better. The next 3 games are Ubisoft titles, and we're just going to get through these pretty quickly because they all end up showing the same results, where our 6800 tuned and 7200 XMP configs are basically the same when it comes to performance, and the best results are coming from the 7600 tune setup. But again, the differences really aren't that big. Alright, so now it's time to take a look at our 20 game average, and this is intriguing because if you're not familiar with RAM tuning and overclocking, you'd think that the kit with the faster speeds would just always outperform the kit that's slower. However, we can see that's not the case, and timings do play a huge role. Lowering your memory latency is also very important. As expected though, we see the best results come from the 7600 tune config, higher bandwidth, lower latency, that's almost as good as our 6800 config kit. It's basically the best of both worlds. However, its performance wasn't dramatically better. We're looking at a 2.5% improvement when it comes to the average FPS and 3% for the 1% lows. You most likely wouldn't notice this, but again, you'd have to take a look at things from a game by game basis just to be sure. Though I just don't feel like that was worth the hassle. If you were to ask me what to settle with, I'd personally go with the 6000 MDI kit and just overclock it as high as it can go, just tighten down the timings as much as possible to lower latency. That will be the easiest and cost-effective route to take because as we were discussing at the start of the video, when dealing with these ADI kits, especially the ones rated at 7400 or beyond, the silicon lottery comes into play heavily, whereas 13th gen should have no issues at all running 6800, and even 12th gen on a Z690 board probably is doable. So the question, is faster DDR5 RAM worth it? No, it's not, because it's not so much a pricing issue more than it is a compatibility issue with performance that's not dramatically or noticeably better. And I just know that there will be someone out there going, well, I got a 13900K at 6 GHz running on my Apex, running DDR5 8400 CL32 with RAM water cooled, and I got way better performance. Well, congrats, but what did it take for you to get there? A really expensive motherboard, expensive RAM, water cooling parts, that is some extreme territory, even for me. Now, in the future, this is a video that will definitely require a follow-up. DDR5 is still relatively new to the market, and give it another year or so, we'll soon have memory kits with higher capacities, higher bandwidth, and lower latency be widely available. A lot of manufacturers are slowly transitioning to 2x24 or 2x48 gigabyte kits, and I hear those kits actually clock better, so I might be tempted on grabbing this same team group memory in the 48 gigabyte version just to play around with. Also, by then, we'll hopefully have CPUs with much better memory controllers and motherboards with better compatibility. Speaking of motherboards, with such high capacity kits coming out, I'm hoping that going forward manufacturers just go with 2 DIMM slots. I think 2 DIMMs should have become the standard a long time ago, and with kits like 2x24 or 2x48, there will be less of a need to go with 4 sticks. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna wrap it up here. This was a video that I kinda had fun with, but at the same time didn't because of the nightmare experience I had when trying to deal with that Patriot ADI kit, and just overclocking RAM in general is just extremely time consuming because of how many variables there are. I can see why other creators don't even bother with this subject. It's just too much of a hassle for, well, little benefit. If you are interested in picking up one of these kits, like I said, I'll have some affiliate links below in the description. Anyways, we'll touch base in the next video. If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.